You think we're with them?
She's a sapien. Of course she thinks all demons are the same.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Well, unfortunately, it looks like we've been hit by two stinkers at once when it comes to video game adaptions. So while everyone else can feel free to talk about how the Minecraft movie deserves to go feet first into a wood chipper, I'm going to instead be talking about the new Devil May Cry series on Netflix. A show with characters, plot and world building that's so catastrophically bad that you can't take any of the plot seriously. For those who don't know, this series was developed by Adi Shankar, a man most well known for two things. The first is making vampires afraid of crosses, not because they represent the puritan righteous force of God, but because vampires don't like right angles. And the second is he did a video where he criticised the character of Apu from The Simpsons. His main criticism is that he didn't understand why Apu, an Indian man born in India who spent most of his early life in India, would have an Indian accent. Somehow a man who struggles with accents has been put in charge of several different projects over at Netflix, most of which revolve around video games, and so he's been put in charge of this new Devil May Cry one as well, telling us that it's going to be a faithful adaptation and that Adi Shankar never misses. Well, I have to agree with him on this one. He aimed to kill any good intentions with this Devil May Cry series and he succeeded. Now, before I get into this, I just want to make one thing abundantly clear. I'm not exactly the best at the games. I've played them, but they're not really my thing. So what I did instead was watch the rest of the games on YouTube. So I have a pretty good grasp on the story, the world building and the characters. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert. I can't name you every event that happens in the franchise or the name of every monster. There's bound to be plenty of people who know more than I do. But I know the basic gist of things. You don't need to play the games to understand video game franchises. You just need to put some fucking work in and do your research. With that out the way, let's begin, shall we? The series opens with some mercenaries infiltrating a church to steal some relics, only to encounter the demon White Rabbit, who immediately goes on a spiel about how Americans are bad and like to shoot things.
Anything that doesn't fit your narrow understanding, you shoot, bomb, or burn without hesitation.
It's honestly quite jarring to see this level of societal criticism in the opening few minutes, and for it to be so blunt and uninspired as Americans shoot things and that's bad. Also, forgive me, but Devil May Cry doesn't actually take place in the real world. It's more of an amalgamation of different human cultures than anything in real life. But this series just takes place on regular Earth, and this cathedral they're in, it's actually the Vatican. So there's some points deducted for creativity already. Rabbit then takes the sword and the display case, the sword belonging to the demon knight Sparta. He then lectures the soldiers even more, saying that humanity only behaves well when they think they're going to go to his world, hell, which I guess is another very blatant critique on religion and Christianity. Okay. We then get a decent little fight between him and the soldiers before blowing up the Vatican and killing the Vatican guards. We then cut to New York and see a woman walking down the street, and while distracted, her baby is seemingly possessed and lures her by having her rattle go all the way down to the end of the alley before making a sharp right turn down another alley where there's no one around. And the woman just follows this.
Women.
Personally, if I saw a rattle carry itself 100 meters down a pitch black alley, I would say fuck that and keep walking. But no, this $2 rattle is too important to be left alone, leading to the woman getting captured by demons. Luckily for her, Dante arrives and proceeds to fight them. At first I actually enjoyed him because it felt like Dante, a guy who will drop a quick reference in a cocky mannerism before utterly trashing those who stand against him.
Hey look, the Three Stooges came out to play.
But then this happens.
The way this usually goes is I do that, then drop a killer one-liner. But I'm drawing a complete blank right now. Skeletor did not hold up since the 80s. Not my best work, but you get it.
Yeah, he's just kind of Deadpool really. Someone who constantly yaps on and fumbles over himself. Doesn't help when you show him doing all this overpowered stuff and then he gets stunned by a handbag to the face. Yeah, that's right. After saving them, the demon-possessed baby attacks Dante and the mother tries to run away with it. Despite having super speed and agility, he is unable to chase after a middle-aged woman with a pram who struggled to navigate through the middle of a busy street. This is just a reference for his speed, by the way.
What are you doing? That's my baby!
No, it's not.
You weak, pathetic fool.
We then get an intro, which I think looks good, and I just wish had an original OST to go with it, or even just a reused soundtrack from the games. I didn't really want to hear Limp Bizkit blasting down my ears. After some news reports about the attack on the Vatican, where it's mostly just a bunch of idiots arguing about what the demon is, and another bit of societal commentary on Americans trying to be the world police, we then have a presidential meeting discussing the attack, where a scientist explains that they tested DNA samples from the scene and found it was demons. He then says demons are actually a different breed of human.
Oh no, no!
Yeah, just to make it abundantly clear, I instantly knew at this point they were going to make the demons basically sympathetic misunderstood humans, which, in case you don't realise it yet, completely ruins the world building. I'll talk about this later towards the end, but the idea that humans and demons are related is so fucking stupid. The scientist reveals that they found a portal that leads to the demon world and Earth, although it cannot support bigger objects. The Vice President, Baines, tells the scientists that Darkcom, a group of mercenaries specialising in interdimensional threats the scientist represents, needs to find every demon hunter and bring them in for questioning. Why they would need to hunt them down when they've already done contracts with them before, so they could just pay them a bit of money for information, but whatever. Cut to Dante. He goes to his local diner and ends up saving the people in it when a truck is thrown through the window. You know, using that super speed he has, the one that would have been useful about 10 minutes ago. So the demon, which didn't possess the baby before but just shapeshifted into it, arrives to attack him, disguised as Virgil, before shifting back to his regular form and fighting him. Which then cuts to the military interrogating the demon hunters, where one of them gives the name of a contract broker that encountered the White Rabbit, with them proceeding to storm the nightclub and capture him. There is a quick little joke here I like, where after the guy flees, a bunch of girls start stealing his money. I thought that was pretty funny actually. The broker, Enzo, spills his information, and the scientist dude then proceeds to search Dante up, and there's just a complete profile explaining everything about him, which is a bit strange, right? You said to bring in every demon hunter, yet for some reason you didn't bother to try and bring in Dante despite having a full profile on him.
You're a fucking idiot!
Also, who wrote this profile? A fucking 5-year-old? It then cuts back to Dante fighting the demon, and again, it's quite cool. A lot of interesting shots and choreography, before Dante defeats the demon and asks why it's trying to get his amulet. But the demon manages to escape. Back to the military, Enzo reveals that the Sword of Sparta was used alongside a split-in-half amulet to seal the demons off from the earth, and so if they were all brought back together it could cut the war down, and they decide to go after Dante as he has one of the amulet pieces. We then have a scene that serves no other purpose than to reference this scene in DMC5. That's it.
I clapped when I saw it!
Moving on to the next episode, we see the military getting ready to take on Dante and steal his amulet, which is confusing. Why not just fucking ask him, you moron? You're both fighting demons. Just tell him you need his help or hire him. Why are you trying to kill the guy who hunts the enemy you're currently trying to go to war with?
Polite, get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
After the briefing, the demon hunters in the room threaten one of the dudes, and it turns out the guy's a demon, who they then proceed to fight and kill. It's a pretty pointless scene, to be honest. Instead of this exposition dump here, they could have just shown us the effects of the weapons in a regular fight scene without dragging out all the details. Also, why would you lock a demon in a room of your boss and then not instantly kill it? It nearly gets Baines at one point and you struggle to stop it. You couldn't have done this outside. This is Lady, by the way, or Mary as she's originally known, and instead of just being a misinformed and misguided girl who gets in conflict with Dante over her father, here she's just a generic military girl that snarks and says fuck a lot, using her dead parents to justify being an asshole constantly.
You suck!
They send Enzo into Dante's apartment, where Dante attacks him for sending him on the alley job that nearly got his amulet stolen. As he explains about the White Rabbit contacting him, the military begin to surround the apartment. Dante figures out that the military are after him, and he refuses to hand over the amulet, being the only thing he has left of his mother. Dante uses Enzo as a distraction so he can sneak attack the first team that attacks him, effortlessly dispatching all of them.
You managed not to kill any of them.
He then fights the rest of the soldiers as they storm into his apartment.
I heal extremely fast, like a superhero. Not that I call myself a superhero, but your mom does.
As I said, he's Deadpool in this series, not Dante, especially as Dante isn't known for making your mama jokes considering what happened to him as a child. We then get a nice recap of who Sparta is through Mary, in one of the most uninteresting and stupid exposition pieces yet. If you need an example of how bastardized this series is already, let's have a little comparison.
He was a demon knight.
Whatever that means. Big bad warrior, blah, blah, blah.
You've heard of it, haven't you? The legend of Sparta?
2,000 years ago when our world was still connected to their shithole. And Mundus wasn't happy just ruling the shithole. And I guess Sparta woke up one day and realized, hey, this is evil as fuck.
Long ago, in ancient times, a demon rebelled against his own kind for the sake of the human race.
The only way to protect humanity was to seal the realms off from each other. Stayed on our side. Which, if that's true, he's been MI-fucking-A whenever shit hits the fan for the past few millennia.
With his sword, he shut the portal to the demonic realm and sealed the evil entities off from our human world.
Yeah, not great.
You managed not to kill any of them.
Mary then barges into the apartment and manages to get her hand on the amulet, somehow. After having seen him wipe the floor with demons, it really is a bit pathetic that he has so much trouble trying to take on Mary. She also immediately figures out that he's part demon just to dump some exposition on the audience.
Wait, you think I'm part demon?
You think you're not? I'm sorry, why the fuck did you write this? He has super speed, super strength, enhanced reflexes and a healing factor. What the fuck else did he think he would be?
You are made of stupid.
Mary manages to trick Dante and get away, once again showing that Dante struggles to chase after women with his super speed for some reason. Dante is then tricked into a truck and doesn't bother to dodge the bullets that Mary sends his way, getting stunned by them, and he's then injected with some sort of device to stop him from escaping. On to the next episode, we see Mary's childhood, where she already had an interest in being a hero and hunting demons. What a coincidence. Then during a trip back home, she encounters an actual demon that tries to kill her. Double coincidence. It's almost like her entire character revolves around demon hunting and nothing else. Also, the demon that attacks them is stopped because he gets run over by a train that appears from literally nowhere. There's no lights coming from the tracks and no one hears it until it hits the guy. They then go to the police, but obviously no one believes them. Her father has a breakdown, becoming lost in his research to try and find out about the demons and how to get power to defeat them. We then cut to the modern day, where they are transporting Dante and Enzo back to the base. The scientist says they can't destroy the amulet as they don't know what will happen if they do. Mary notices that Dante and Enzo seem to be plotting to escape, and instead of just restraining Dante straight away, she decides to randomly attack them with flamethrowers, which could have killed them, and it alerts them that they have secret weapons in the truck. Also, even after restraining him, she refuses to keep an eye on him when he tries to escape again. So what was the point of this scene? You could have just cut it and nothing would be lost. She also tells her colleague about the bomb she injected into Dante, which is fine, she's informing her colleague of something, but why are you giving me a flashback to something that happened 10 minutes ago?
Are you saying I'm stupid?
Baines phones them and talks to Dante, and after some questioning, Dante insists that he isn't part demon and he's just a mutant. Right. We'll get to that. As Baines tries to talk to Dante, he tries to recruit him to help, with Mary objecting due to believing that anything related to demons is inherently evil. So Baines is just an idiot then. He wanted Dante to join his side and help them, so he decided to tell his mercenaries to attack him first and possibly kill him instead of just talk to him. He could have just sent in Enzo, who would have given him a contract. Why would you write this? As they're driving, they come across a police roadblock, where the demons launch a surprise attack on the convoy, and for some reason the demons are in some weird 3D CGI instead of the regular animation, and it looks really weird. It turns out the newest member of the demon hunters, Anders, someone who previously survived an attack by the White Rabbit, is a mole, working with the White Rabbit to protect his family from demon attacks. And so Rabbit ends up gaining control of both sides of the amulet and the sword. He fatally wounds the scientist and stages an attack on Anders, and the scientist is then killed when, instead of just throwing a grenade at Rabbit when he's unaware, he alerts him and then tosses it directly at him, allowing Rabbit to counter it and then escape unharmed.
Up your way out of this!
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
At the same time, Mary, a regular human with some advanced tech, is able to fight 5 demons at the same time, even the one Dante briefly struggled against in the first episode. Anders releases Dante, who manages to save some kids, before chasing after Rabbit and some other demons to get the amulet back. And again, it keeps randomly switching between the regular animation and the 3D CGI stuff, which I just don't think looks great. I also find it really funny at one point because the demons throw a car at him and he crashes through the windows to get through it. Like, where's the driver? They just disappear so he can do this cool move, and it ends up just looking stupid because of that. And then a whole bunch of weird stuff happens in this fight, like the monsters only attacking one at a time, and the plant demon throwing some spikes into the wheel, which you think would be setting up that the tire will deflate so he has to get there quickly or he won't be able to catch up to them. But the bike is fine until another 2 minutes, until right at the end of the chase, when the tire remembers that the air is supposed to be going down. So yeah, the chase goes on, and as it becomes more desperate, Dante's demon side starts to come out. But right before he's able to stop the rabbit, the bomb goes off in his head, seriously injuring him. Then there's this scene.
Which means I need to keep you alive.
Addy, why did you randomly kill the darker guy instead of the white dude? On to the next episode, and we get a flashback to Dante's childhood, where he and Virgil are given the amulet. Waking up from his flashback, Dante and Enzo are now on the presidential plane, with the rest of the presidential team captured, including Baines. A presentation left by the rabbit makes it very blunt that his father was Sparda, and that he was abandoned at some point in his early life, so Dante has no memory of him. Rabbit then explains that Sparda locked the nice demons in with Mundus and his bad demons, something Rabbit hates him for. Rabbit says that if he wants to save the plane, he has to activate his devil trigger form. As Dante comes to terms with things, the animation team fucks up by not remembering how much of Dante's face has healed, sometimes showing half his face burnt, while other times only a few patches of skin is missing.
I can't believe you've done this.
As Mary and her team chase after the rabbit to get the amulet, they are trapped in the building, having to fight their way to the top floor while slowly getting picked off by the demons that are hiding in the building. And to be honest, it's quite an enjoyable scene for the most part. It's got a similar vibe to that Darth Vader scene in Rogue One, where everyone's just trying to desperately survive against an unstoppable force that's slowly creeping towards them. But after they kill everyone else without any problems, they have to stop and pause to chat shit to Mary. And of course, when it's her turn to get the kill shot, she also needs to chat shit instead of just shooting them, allowing the plant demons to dodge her bullets and allowing them to not crush her to death instantly. There's just some very annoying plot armor is what I'm saying. Also, the shapeshifter dude just doesn't do anything here. He just sits and watches, which makes me question what the fuck was the point of having him here if he's just not going to do anything. Mary manages to escape because the sword that did all this shit apparently can't go through the closing metal doors, but then she gets gas when she gets out the elevator, beginning to suffer hallucinations. She knocks on the doors of one of the apartments, and after some hesitation she's let in. The demon that's chasing her also finds the apartment, revealing that the occupants are also demonic, but after searching one hiding spot concludes that she couldn't possibly be hiding in the lockers and just leaves. Mary contemplates killing them, but they explain that they're refugees fleeing from the evil demons and were tricked into staying in the apartments by Rabbit. Don't worry, we'll get into this stupid plot later. On the plane, in order to try and get his devil trigger to happen, the demons taunt Dante over what happened to his mother and brother, causing him to activate his devil trigger partly and kill one of the brothers, but he's unable to stop the other one from blowing up the plane. Next up, this episode opens with everyone plunging to their death, as Mary starts getting chased by the plant demon while the winged one starts to rally the hordes in the basement. Mary comes across the demon refugees that have been used as test subjects, as Dante starts to save the falling passengers in a sequence that I thought was actually quite cool. The shapeshifter guy once again finds Mary and once again doesn't immediately capture her, eventually giving himself away and allowing her a fighting chance against him. This guy is just written like a complete fucking idiot to justify Mary having plot armor and him not immediately capturing her.
What the fuck is this?
What? What?
What the fuck is this? This is garbage.
She attempts to negotiate, offering herself as a host for him to shapeshift into, with him shapeshifting into her before the plant demon arrives, which ends with her attacking him by mistake and allowing Mary to kill the plant demon. Dante then manages to fully activate his devil trigger mode as a new rendition of Devil Trigger plays in the background, which actually kinda fits the young Dante, so I'll let it slide that they gave Dante Nero's song. He saves the crew and then fights the other demon brother, with their fight leading them into the demon apartment building. Mary tells the refugees that she's not going to attack them and orders her forces to save them. And let me tell you, there's a very sharp difference between character development and just randomly changing your entire personality. She'll happily hurt a guy who fights for them because he has a little bit of demon blood in him, but she'll immediately believe the word of some actual demon she spent her whole life despising.
Right.
Mary kills the other brother and the two of them then team up to find the amulet, only to discover the tracking device has been detached. As the military round up the demons, Baines orders them to be killed instead. When talking to the rabbit, Mary figures out that the rabbit needs Dante for his blood, and Rabbit threatens his army to attack the city unless they meet them. Because everyone becomes an idiot to keep the plot moving, Shapeshifter Guy is still alive because Mary decides to not make sure he was dead. And after seeing these soldiers kill the refugees, he blows up the building, killing everyone in it except for Dante and Mary. Don't worry everyone, over halfway through now. Hopefully there won't be too much bullshit left. The next episode has two different plots happening at the same time. It begins with a flashback of Mary watching her dad get consumed by his research, with her only solace being a kid that she befriends. One night, her father injects himself with something that transforms him into a demon, killing her mother, and then after accidentally setting his study on fire, he himself burns with it. As her home burns down, she grows up to join Dartcom and work under the military, hunting down demons that come into the world. At the same time, we see a young boy, who is currently in an abusive foster system before finding a portal to hell. And after stepping in, he is saved by some of the smaller demons, joining their culture and finding out about the tyranny of the more powerful demons, while one of his friends slowly starts to die from the toxic air. After holding a funeral, the man uses the resources and tech he has to find a new portal to take the lower demons to, helping refugees to come to Earth and trying to establish sanctuaries for them. This all culminates in Mary finding one of these sanctuaries and having a standoff with the man. And despite trying to explain what's going on, due to the stress of the situation, he forgets to close the portal behind him, leading to one of the higher demons starting to slaughter people and everyone dying in the crossfire when Darkcom tried to take it down. The man looks around and after seeing all the refugees dead, he snaps, sewing a toy rabbit onto himself and doing experiments to turn himself into the demon, becoming the White Rabbit. Honestly, this was a really good episode. I don't think I have any major criticisms for it really. About 90% of the episode is dialogue free, but it made more sense than any of the other episodes. The music was great, the animation styles were fantastic, and it tied everything up perfectly. If only they put this much effort into the other episodes, then this series might be above dog shit. Next episode we see Rabbit return to hell, meeting a new demon that offers him some blood related to the other son of Sparta, Virgil, with Rabbit remarking that he knows who this demon is. Don't worry, we'll talk about that later. As Rabbit leaves to go get Dante's blood as well, we see Mary and Dante after surviving the explosion. Mary shows how insufferable she is by choosing to punch him in the face despite acknowledging he saved her life. They then see all the dead soldiers and Dante talks about how he will harness his demon side to protect the Earth, only for Mary to shoot him in the leg and throw him in the prison truck, talking about how she won't let his blood get near the rabbit and how actually everything's all about her. Yeah, she's just pretty insufferable at this point. Also, I thought they only had 30 minutes to go and meet the rabbit. Before it was midday with the sun high in the sky, and now it's very clearly sunset. Shouldn't the city already be fucked by now, especially considering Mary doesn't arrive until nighttime? What's the point of establishing a time-sensitive plot point and then immediately forgetting about it?
Yeah, that's definitely a case of me just not knowing what to do with the script.
We then get this perfectly natural scene.
Hey baby, you need a ride? Because I definitely need you to ride this dick.
Mary then does this bullshit because she can literally do anything in this show. She tries to intimidate Rabbit by threatening to burn Dante until there's no DNA left. Rabbit gives the amulet away, but after it's revealed to be a bluff, he sends the demons after her, with her unleashing a new prototype rocket launcher to stun the big sword demon. Then she decides to just stab it into another demon and just leave it there. They've been hinting at how important this thing is throughout the entire show, and the second it starts getting used, she uses it twice and then she just leaves it. What was the fucking point of that?
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
After losing to the demons, because yeah, of course she was going to, she's one person and then she threw away her only powerful weapon, she's about to be killed until Dante shows up. Rabbit then lectures Dante about what Sparta did, and how he left the weaker denizens to be bled dry by Mundus, offering to show him his homeland in person. Dante agrees as long as Mary is left alive, and he sees the wasteland of hell. Dante then struggles to breathe and move, and while you'd think this would be the perfect time to take his blood, Rabbit just sends him back to Earth, allowing Dante to be healthy again.
Not a great plan.
Rabbit then says that the war must come down for the suffering to end, because on top of bringing in some out-of-date politics from 2 decades ago, now Addy needs to bring in some out-of-date politics from a decade ago, employing Trump and his wall analogy. Of course this doesn't work, because unlike with Trump's case, here you have literal fucking demons ready to pour in and slaughter millions of people, so it's nice to see the political commentary is just as good as ever.
We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
Dante and the demons then fight, and once again it's quite a decent fight between him and the demons, and then him and the sword guy, especially with the music and the portal crossing stuff.
Good job.
Rabbit and Mary get into an argument, where Mary accuses him of just wanting revenge and experimenting on orphans, when Rabbit points out that that's literally her whole life story after working for Darkcom, before revealing himself as the man who was leading the refugees years earlier. After Dante finishes off the demons, he and Rabbit fight, and after falling near the edge he gives Dante a warning about how he could have saved the demons. Rabbit then cuts himself off from the amulet, escaping as Baines and his soldiers turn up. We're in the final episode now, which starts with Rabbit finding one of his demon soldiers and killing him, eating his blood and transforming into a proper demon himself. At the same time, the military is sorting the demon bodies out, getting them staged for news photos. Mary demands he hands over the amulet, saying that Darkcom is better at defending it than him, while Dante argues that he doesn't trust them or Baines. As their argument starts to get heated, Baines demands to know the location of the sword and the amulet. While Rabbit still has the sword, she lies about the location of the amulet, allowing Dante to keep it. Baines, however, tries to capture Dante, demanding that he pick a side in the war he wishes to launch against the demons. As things escalate, Rabbit appears again, now as a giant monster fighting everyone on the roof. Anders spots the device used to open portals, managing to claim it during Rabbit's attack. Baines evacuates with Anders while Dante and Mary fight Rabbit, realizing they need to destroy the pump on his chest. Mary manages to survive all this bullshit. Dante fights him, and during the fight Enzo decides to stand in the fucking way holding the rocket launcher but not doing anything with it. Just look at this. He stands in the way, has plenty of time to shoot, and he just lets himself get fucking stabbed instead. Even though I'm a little bit sad that he died, it's still just a fucking stupid death scene. He dies in Dante's arms, all the while the White Rabbit is just stood there on the side not doing anything. Dante starts to use more of his demon side during the fight, although even alongside Mary in the helicopter they still struggle. Dante drops the amulet and Mary somehow does all this shit. Rabbit reveals to Dante that Virgil is still alive, and manages to break the barrier to hell, with demons flooding into the city. Mary manages to shoot the pump valve, and angered over Rabbit hiding his brother from him, Dante activates his devil trigger, managing to kill Rabbit. He then deactivates the portal and all the demons start to disappear. Why? I thought the whole point was that the portal was too weak to allow them to cross over. It never stated at all that they needed the portal to remain open once they crossed. In fact, surely if that is the case, Sparta would have been sent back as well as soon as he closed the barrier to hell. Almost like the rules of the world building really haven't been thought through by these shitty writers. Dante then says he's going to try and find Virgil, but Mary drugs him, intending to bring him in. It's then revealed that Anders was captured by Baines, where he revealed that he knew Anders is the leak. Anders says that he was told by the Rabbit to destroy the device so no one could use it. Why he then chose to save it several times and why he still chooses to not drop it out of the helicopter is now a complete fucking mystery. Baines reveals he will use the device to attack Hell. Killing Anders, he opens a portal up for the US to invade Hell, while fucking Green Day plays in the background and we see all the nice demons being blown up.
What are you doing?
Dante is frozen and his items are sent into storage, while the president tells the world about demons existing. After building death camps, the demon from before arrives to free the other demons, revealing himself to be Virgil and that he's working for Mundus. He reveals himself for no other reason than dramatic effect for the audience and a sequel bait. With this final episode done, what can be said about this series? Let's start with the positives. Don't worry, it's not that many, I'll be quick. Some, and I do stress some, of the music choices are enjoyable. The OST for the most part complements what you're seeing on the screen, and I even like this version of Devil Trigger used for Dante, although of course it would have been nice for him to have an original song for himself. The fight and chase scenes are pretty enjoyable, even if at times it seems like the animation quality drops a little bit. I especially like how fluid and dynamic the airplane rescue scene was. Speaking of animation, I thought it was well animated most of the time, and the style of animation alongside the characters and world designs worked pretty well. I don't really have any major complaints about the voice actors, they're just doing their job, so even if I hate the stuff they're saying at times, at least it's good quality on their end. The intro looks cool, would have been nice to not have Limp Bizkit blasting in my ears and instead have an original song, but the animations and transitions made for a solid intro. And finally, episode 6. This episode was one of the best stories, not just of any Devil May Cry entry, but just any animation show I've seen recently. To be honest, everything about it was pretty great, where until the last 5 minutes you'd think you were watching a completely different show. Now let's move on to the part where I tear this thing to shreds. Before we go into the deep stuff, I'll quickfire some little criticisms I have and then we'll move on to the deeper stuff. As mentioned, the soundtrack doesn't always mesh with me. Sometimes the animation seems a bit delayed or not as fluid, and the use of 3D animation looks really bad in certain scenes. A lot of the time they can sort of blend it so it looks okay, but then there's times where it just looks so janky. There's not a lot of episodes and the episodes aren't very long, so it's not hard to keep track of the important parts. Yet for some reason this show is obsessed with showing flashbacks back to scenes we've already seen, which isn't really necessary at all, especially when it's flashing back to an episode that just happened before this one, maybe it's even less than 10 minutes of screen time ago. The final thing I'm going to harp on about is a lot of the human references in this is designed to appeal to the most Reddit-brained individual on the planet, desperately trying to insert memes and references to get people to look at the screen and go, hey, I know that thing.
I clap! This has got to be the second worst job you ever gave me.
Oh, you mean after the Raccoon City job?
I clap!
I am that storm.
I clap!
It all just gets very tedious. So now we've got the more surface level criticisms I had, let's move on to the more serious critiques. The plot makes sense on the surface and is at least coherent enough so you understand what's going on and what the bad guy's desires are, but everything surrounding the world building is just fucked. Baines tells Darkcom to bring in every demon hunter available, and they immediately know the location of every single demon hunter except Dante. Then it's revealed that they have a full profile on him, know where his apartment is, and that they've been cleaning up his demon killings in secret for years. So why did they need to ask Enzo where Dante lives, and why didn't they just hire him for a job? As he would already know what it's like to be employed by them, and given the situation he would most likely say yes. Sparda managed to seal the worlds apart by placing a barrier between the two so only small, infrequent portals appear for travel, with his own blood being used as a key, and he then lived on Earth and might currently still be alive. So I struggle to understand why it would take the blood of both sons of Sparda to reopen it. They both carry Sparda's blood and that's the only important thing, so as long as they have the blood of one of them it should open. But no, it needs the blood of both of them, and the only reason I can think of why it was written to be this way is to reveal to Dante that Virgil is still alive, a goal that could have been accomplished a number of different ways. On top of this, it's shown that when the portal closes, all of the greater demons get sent back to hell. But for some reason when Sparda sealed it, despite being one of the most powerful demons to exist, he was able to remain on Earth for centuries, which shouldn't have happened based on what this scene shows us here. Virgil is thought dead to the world, and despite having business with him, Rabbit only seems to be aware that this demon is Virgil after it manages to bring him his blood, meaning that Virgil most likely stays in this form most of the time and his existence is a secret kept from most people. Despite that, this shapeshifter guy somehow manages to shapeshift into him, which wouldn't be too bad if it wasn't for the fact he manages to shapeshift into exactly how Virgil is in the present day. So how the hell does this guy know what Virgil looks like when even his boss wasn't aware he was alive until long after his death? On top of which, if the Rabbit's plan entirely revolved around having the blood of both sons of Sparda, why would he ever think that his plan was going to work anyways? Why would he enact this plan when he didn't even think he'd be able to get the son of Sparda's blood? After Mary and her family were nearly killed, her father decided to dedicate his life to research and trying to fight them. However, he's just one man with no combat experience and no resources. Despite this, and the fact that Darkcom has been working for decades to clean up demon attacks, her father is able to find a demon arm and use it, somehow having the resources to track down demon attacks and the ability to either sneak their body parts away from a highly specialized military force or even just fight them himself. Neither of which makes sense. Dante has been hunting demons his entire life, and is more than aware of their enhanced speed, strength and healing abilities. He also has these powers, yet he's taken completely by surprise when he's part demon. He tries to say he's a mutant, which wouldn't be too bad of an explanation, but there's literally no other mention of any other non-demons with these sort of abilities in the world, with not even Darkcom having any references to this, and if these people existed you'd think there'd be some recorded cases for it. As such, it just makes no sense whatsoever that Dante doesn't know his heritage, and it just serves to make him look even more like an idiot. The anti-demon bullets and weaponry seem inconsistent. We're told that the liquid inside works on the demons, creating a chemical reaction that leads to the demon DNA that comes in contact with it exploding. Yet, despite wings and the plant petals being part of their forms, these bullets don't do anything to these demons here, even though the bullet casing should be shattering onto them and causing a reaction. The entire 3rd, 4th and 5th episodes would have been a lot quicker, and so seems to be a forgotten mechanic to pad the runtime and give Mary something to do. Speaking of demons, Hell isn't a demonic dimension filled with magic, but just a parallel world, with the magic of the franchise being reduced to just some sort of advanced technology, and even the demons being evolved humans. I don't think you need me to tell you what a fucking stupid idea this is, especially as it means that the human sides of Dante and Virgil aren't special anymore because humans are very similar to demons anyways. So them being half demon, half human hybrids just isn't really important. And in the final part of the world building, we're told that Hell and its inhabitants would do untold damage to the world should the portal open. And while there are some refugees who wouldn't fight, the more powerful ones would surely come and kill millions, if not billions of people. Yet at the end it's shown that a small band of the military is able to walk around Hell, blowing things up and constructing camps. And the powerful demons are apparently unable to stop this from happening, completely removing the threat of Hell, because now I know that a few Harrier jets with missiles is all it takes to get them to back off. There's also just a few parts of the plot that just blatantly don't make sense, whether it's because of poor editing or plot armor. When Dante is on the bike and it gets punctured by the plant demon, it points out that the air is being let out of the tire, but then it just goes several minutes without the bike being affected at all, only slowing the bike down right at the end so he can dramatically jump from it. The shapeshifter wants to keep Mary alive so he can copy her and infiltrate Darkcom, yet instead of helping the other two demons when she's all alone, he just wanders off and does fuck all, and then he tries to take her on himself, which leads to his plan failing and his fellow demon being killed. Anders is told to destroy the device that Rabbit has been using to ensure that Baines and the military cannot use it against Hell. Yet instead of just leaving it on the rooftop to be smashed, destroying it himself or throwing it into the river, he brings it with him directly to Baines, completely going against Rabbit's plan despite the fact that Anders doesn't want to fail Rabbit or his kids might be killed. The power levels in general are also completely fucked and make me struggle to take the plot seriously. Dante will effortlessly take direct hits from extremely muscular soldiers and even demons, yet a tiny woman with a handbag is able to knock him down to the point where he's stunned for several seconds. He also has super speed and reflexes, being able to dodge lightning fast strikes and bullets. Yet he'll still get hit and fail to dodge attacks for convenient dramatic effect. On the flip side, Mary is an ordinary human, yet despite being constantly thrown around like a ragdoll usually ends up absolutely fine, and is capable of keeping up and even outpacing Dante despite not having inhuman speed or reflexes. On to the politics and themes now, and as you can tell by my previous comments throughout this video, most of them are surface level, outdated, and in some cases don't even work properly. Rabbit and his people are meant to reflect the idea of real-life refugees wanting to find solace and peace in another land that isn't being torn apart by war. And this, Sparta trapping them, the harsh response by Darkcom and the eventual invasion of their lands and the slaughter of their people is meant to reflect how more stable powers will refuse to help those in need, isolate them, and invade said country to make things even worse for the people living there. This allegory fails for two reasons. For a start, don't use demons as an allegory for Middle Eastern people. This is probably the stupidest way you can describe real-life refugees and their struggles, especially considering how offensive it is, as many Middle Eastern people are religious and would find being compared to a demon as blasphemous. Secondly, it describes that only the weaker demons currently have the ability to travel to Earth, as the portals make it too difficult to transport the matter of the more powerful demons, and that Sparta was wrong for leaving these weaker refugees trapped on the other side of the barrier. But this also means that all of the demons that we see throughout the show are on the lower side of the power scale, and yet they managed to cause severe amounts of death and destruction in just a few days, meaning that Sparta was absolutely in the right for abandoning them, because even the weakest demons have the ability to destroy everything around them. Addy also can't help but shit talk about Americans, making generic critiques like how they love guns and destroying things in the first 5 minutes of the show, and he's quick to put out more of these lines throughout the episodes that just come across as passive aggressive. He also seems to be making an anti-Trump stance when Rabbit is talking about humans building a wall to keep the innocent refugees out, much like how Trump wants to build a wall to stop Mexican immigrants coming into the country. However, this also falls apart because, much like how drug smugglers and killers hide amongst the refugees to enter the US, here there are vicious demons that are coming into Earth to wreak havoc alongside the innocent ones. So if he was trying to explain why having the wall is a bad thing, this allegory just completely fucking ruins that attempt. The final thing I'm going to harp on about before getting into the characters is that once again, Addy really seems to just hate Christians. On the few clips that I've seen of his work on Castlevania, he already has an agenda against Christianity, but in this series, the season ends with Mundus, the very evil demon overlord that wants to conquer everything, being less of a villain than Baines, a Christian man leading a crusade against hell, with it firmly set up that he will be the villain in the next season. It's just fucking despicable at this point. I'm not religious, I'm very atheistic, but this is just too much even for my standards, not helped by him attempting to weasel his way out of it either. I want to make something very, very clear here. The Devil May Cry reboot has better politics and themes than this series. That's all I'm gonna say. So, the characters. Dante is a character I struggle with. On the one hand, he will make some quick remarks, then immediately kick some demon ass, showing some good use of his powers and skills alongside being someone who, outside of his brash and careless persona, does care about saving people. But then he'll act like a complete dumbass, make a load of cringy and unfunny quips like he's Deadpool, and get outperformed by regular humans he should be wiping the floor with, and failing to use his super speed to dodge attacks. This is contrasted with regular Dante, who is cocky and enjoys mocking his enemies, but he can back up his cocky nature because he usually just wins, unless against an extremely powerful demon or Virgil. Here, it's like they took Dante and Nero and merged them together to create a character that lacks the charm of Dante and doesn't have the understandable brashness of Nero, making a much more dislikable main character, and ultimately a Dante I have a love-hate relationship with. You then have Lady, or Mary in this case. She is just awful. The original Mary started out brash, but that's only because she's trying to stop her father, a man she loves as much as she hates. And it's only after help from Dante that she's able to start healing and find a new purpose in life, calling herself Lady to show her new beginnings. She also provides a lot of insightfulness throughout the story, even saying the main franchise name, Devil May Cry, to highlight that even people who are viewed as demonic such as Dante and Virgil are capable of loving others. This Mary is just such a fucking annoying character. They did a good job of her backstory, as I said, episode 6 is really good, but she's really unbearable in pretty much every scene she's in. She constantly tries to act badass and just dumps really awkward exposition on the audience while talking about how bad all demons are. Oh, and here's the way she does that, by the way.
Devil spawn, motherfucker. Even that thing should have trouble healing from a bomb going off in its fucking neck. This dumb fuck Devil Spawn has no idea it's leading us right to it. It'll be harder to study in 100 fucking pieces. Let's go see what that Roger fucking Rabbit reject's been doing this whole time. Yep. I'm gonna make it so the rabbit needs a magician to pull him out of his own asshole. Even you couldn't make up something that fucking stupid. Spare me the jack-off session. Your blood is the exact fucking thing the rabbit needs to jumpstart his apocalypse, you demonic dumbass. Don't be a fucking idiot!
On top of this, despite her die-hard nature against demons, she immediately allows the lesser demons go once they tell her a sob story. Don't get me wrong, they are telling the truth, but she's been characterized as a zealot this entire show, and then she just immediately believes this family in the span of a few minutes and tries to help the lesser demons. And then despite now being sympathetic to demons and Dante, she still betrays him at the end and goes back to working for a group of people who want to exterminate demons, something she doesn't want anymore. All of this is just made even worse by the plot armor and the dialogue that just spews out of her mouth. White Rabbit is probably the most well-written character on the show, giving a good example of what an extremist is willing to do to ensure their goal is fulfilled, while having some good lines, intelligence and fight scenes. With my only major complaint about him is I don't understand how he expected his plan to work when he didn't even know that Virgil was still alive. But besides that, he's written fairly competently. Enzo is also an enjoyable character to watch. Seeing him put on a self-serving bravado around others only to secretly care about Dante was a nice little arc. And I thought he was actually one of the few characters that was actually funny, with his death probably being the only one I felt bad about. The demon hunters were just there. I didn't really have a lot to say about them. They have a few character quirks, but there isn't enough for me to really care about them. They were just some named characters for us to see the demons mean business, with the exception of Anders, who's mostly just kept around to set up the ending and then he dies as well. Same for the scientist, he was mostly just there to explain shit until all the exposition surrounding the sword and the amulet was over, and then he dies as well. Arkham appears as Mary's father, but obviously he's just a wasted character here as he dies in the flashback and is just used to help Mary grow, meaning we'll never see this iconic schemer team up with Virgil and become a god. Eva is here, and she's pretty much exactly the same as in the games. She loved her sons and dies trying to save them, and her death is a major influence on Dante and Virgil. And that's all there really is, which is a lot more positive than what I can give about this version of Sparta. Sparta was a demon who encountered humanity at some point, and seeing the goodness and love in their world, decided through sheer force of will and a sense of justice to rebel against his own kind, fighting Mundus's forces, sealing Mundus in a prison, and then helping seal the demon realm off from the human world. He would then wander the earth for a few centuries, fall in love with Eva, take care of his family, and enjoy spending time with them before dying at some point when the boys were still young, being presented as a good and loving father. But this show decided to turn him into an asshole that decided to go to Earth and then seal hell off so he wouldn't have to deal with any of the problems associated with it, leaving the lesser demons to be brutally ruled in a world that was ruined even further thanks to Sparta's actions, before he then had some kids with Eve and fucked off to do something else, with him possibly still being alive, but if he is, he's done absolutely nothing while demons invade his new home, turning his character into a self-serving, uncaring coward. Baines, who is very disjointed because he's clearly meant to be evil, but they fucked up the politics and themes of the show so badly I'm not certain how I feel about him. He's clearly supposed to be a manipulative zealot that wants to destroy anything related to demon kind in the name of God, and we're supposed to view him as the new villain due to how callous he is about invading hell and treating the lesser demons. However, the demons constantly keep putting the earth in danger by coming through. He's willing to allow Dante to fight alongside them despite knowing his demon blood, and we've seen that even the lesser demons can cause mass chaos, so not even the refugees can be trusted. So yeah, pretty sure I'm leaning more on his side than the forces of hell. Finally, we have Virgil. In the show, he has 3 scenes that are a fanservice-y reference, a small plot-focused scene, and a plot-focused scene that turns into a fanservice-y reference. He's mostly just there to be pointed at and hyped up for the next season. In terms of personality, however, this adaptation is going to fail him right off the bat, and the reason why can be summed up in one simple sentence. Virgil is serving someone else. More specifically, he is serving Mundus. I shouldn't need to explain to you why Virgil serving someone for power, especially Mundus of all people, is just a complete and utter betrayal of everything Virgil stands for. So with everything said and done about this project, what can I say about Adi Shankar and the people that put this streaming pile of unfiltered piss onto our screen? If I was being nice, I would say that Adi and his team are completely incompetent when it comes to writing, with the end result of their writing meaning that about a third of it is faithful to the source material, a third is a distorted version of the source material, and the final third is new material that completely shits the bed, resulting in an adaptation that's vaguely related to the original, but misses the mark a lot and in general fails as a story. However, if you were to ask me when I'm not nice, say when I've just had to watch a really badly adapted series about a franchise I'm interested in, I would say that Adi and his team are incompetent hacks, very clearly having limited knowledge on the franchise and using whatever knowledge they do have as surface dressing for their terrible characters, stories, themes and political commentary, and made all the more insufferable by the fact that the man who is offended that Indian people have Indian accents thinks he's a genius and has a genuine love for video games, when so far it looks like he's never picked up one of these in his life. This series is a 2, maybe it's a 3 out of 10, with some good voice acting and action scenes and the occasional bit of good music, but pretty much everything else is either terrible or boring, with the only saving grace being episode 6. And I would advise Adi to wipe that shitty makeup off because clearly he's been using lead-based paints and is currently suffering from some sort of poisoning if he thinks this series is a masterpiece. Thanks for watching, lads and lasses. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. Sharing always helps, and if you're feeling really generous, please consider my Patreon or YouTube membership. I also have a Twitter and occasionally I do live streams. But most of all, I just hope you had a great day and hopefully I will see you in the next video.